Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. Our guest today is the ultimate girl boss and entrepreneur. She is the co-host of the Happy Hour podcast, co-founder of fashion label Jagger and Stone, and also has her own app, The Basic Girls Guide. Lucy Jackson has had so much success, but she remains super down to earth and is adored for her realness and zest for life. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers, and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Lucy Jackson.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me, Queen.
Oh my God, it's my absolute pleasure.
It's so nice to have you here in beautiful sunny Melbourne.
You know what? Yesterday was sunny. Today it is torrential rain. Every day is different in Melbourne.
Keeps you on your toes.
It does.
A bit of fun.
It does. No, I love Melbourne. It is a journey with the weather, but I do love Melbourne. I've really grown to love Melbourne over the last few years.
That's good.
Yeah.
You are here quite a bit, which is a real treat.
We are here all the time for work, which is great. And then I've got some really beautiful friends down here. Do you know what? I've got to say, credit to Melbourne. We always talk about this. Everyone we meet from Melbourne has just got the most unreal hospitality. I love coming to Melbourne. I love the people I meet here. Like other cities,
so
not
nice.
as much.
I do find that, like, I would say probably Sydney more so. I don't want to offend anyone, but it's kind of cold, particularly in our industry, going to events and things.
Yes,
People
totally.
can be a bit more standoffish, whereas Melbourne's generally a bit more warm.
Totally. And I feel like a lot of people from Melbourne that I think are pretty like credible, awesome people, you know, that like people like that's like a pretty big deal of a person. So nice, so warm, always like so just gives you so much time of day. I don't know. I don't know if it's a Melbourne thing. I don't know.
Nice. I think
Maybe because it's raining here all the time, people like, fuck, better be nice. There's not much else happening.
Otherwise everyone's going to cry.
Yeah. Better be nice
Also,
to each other.
we are having a little champagne.
We are.
Celebrating.
Cheers.
You've just launched an app. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's actually been going for a few years, but I've just relaunched it and redeveloped it. So it's got a whole new look and feel. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. And honestly, I've just loved having these events, and I've done 2 now, and I've just got to catch up with everyone and see awesome people and have a great time. People think that the influencer, what I hate even referring to us as that, whatever you want to call it, is the industry is like competitive and nasty. It is so not.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Yeah. Well, I think like when people see you doing good things and they're trying to do their own thing, everyone wants to support each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I feel so lucky. I don't think there's any bitchiness in it at all.
That's so good. And it is refreshing to hear that, I think. We love girls supporting girls.
Do you not feel like that?
No, I do.
Oh, yeah.
But I know from the outside, like, people don't see that.
Yeah, I think people think that it's like this really catty, like gnarly world where we all just like cut each other down and stuff, whereas I'm like, I literally love everyone.
Well, literally your event today. This morning we had Lucy's event celebrating the relaunch.
It's BGG, the relaunch of the BGG, the app, yep.
And we were just sort of calling out everybody's goals and then giving everyone snaps.
Yeah,
and
we're like, snaps for you.
I feel like we're in a cult.
We
Snaps
are.
for everyone.
But it's so nice. And I just feel like everyone's so upbeat and nice, and it's not, I don't know. I just feel very lucky. I feel like everyone's really nice to each other.
That's so good. Now you have your punters.
We do.
Who
Love them.
Love and adore you, and I feel like they all know you really well. And I know you've touched on some of this before, but I would love for you to take me back a little bit and tell me about Lucy as a little girl, a little bit of your childhood.
Well, I grew up with a single mum. My dad passed away when I was 7, maybe 8. I think 7, almost 8.
So young.
So young. And he was quite like, you know, famous isn't the right word, but he was an NRL player. He was very well known. And so when he passed away, it was very public. And my mum's an amazing woman. And so it was just kind of like this whirlwind, like youth. and I have 2 younger brothers. And so I grew up with a mum who probably went through more. She was a single mum by the age of 32 with 3 kids, which is younger than I am now. She probably had a lot harder of a life at the time, or whatever you want to call it, than I would have given her credit for. I think.
Don't you think it takes until you are that age to actually appreciate what she was going through?
100%.
Because you're like, I can't imagine now having 3 kids on my own.
Never. Yeah. And she was just like, you know, you think your mum is this like really old, like wise person. And we were actually talking about it. Nikki told me this quote the other day, and it was like, give your parents credit, it's their first time at life too, or something like that. And that kind of like hit different. And my mum and I have a great relationship now. But yeah, growing up, I had this kind of weirdly distant mum. She wasn't very maternal to me. She was really cool. She was like almost like a friend, but it wasn't maternal. I don't know. It's a weird, she wasn't an overly warm, caring mum, but like she was always awesome.
Do you say to me, so was it different how she treated you to how she treated your brothers, do you think?
Well, my brothers, I don't think had maybe the same needs that they needed, like as like men.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just was always different with my brother's relationship with my mum. And I'm also the eldest. And I think that an eldest relationship with a mum, especially if you're a girl, there's a lot of science behind it. But like if you're the eldest and you're a girl, you're almost like this Trojan horse for the family. Like you're so I was like always this like old bossy sister.
Yeah.
Like loved my brothers so much. Massive tomboy, had 2 brothers, like played every sport and did every extracurricular activity under the sun, like dancing, netball, soccer, drama, played the saxophone, played the piano, like in the debating team, everything. Just this like crazy, like overly stimulated kid. And yeah, I just kind of grew up. I was just always pretty intense, to be honest. I was just pretty weird and intense. Always. I was Gollum in my grade 7. Like literally I wore a bald wig and like a skin coloured.
Oh, you actually dressed up as Gollum?
Yeah, in my grade 7 monologue. Like I proper was Gollum. I was, you know, in grade 12 I remember did you ever do Shakespeare in like high school?
Yeah, we dabbled.
Yeah, so I did Shakespeare, and I was also very much into witchcraft at one point.
Okay.
And we were the 3 witches from Macbeth, and like I decked the entire classroom out with lit candles for the performance, turned all the lights off, blacked out the windows.
Wow.
Just like a really theatrical, intense kid, high overachiever, like weird kid.
100% in everything.
Yeah.
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 So overachiever academically and sporting wise?
I was always pretty smart at school. Like definitely when I was younger, I actually struggled a lot at school, and then I did this crazy thing called thras. I don't know if that's like a common thing.
I know of it, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just became really academic. And then I was like always quite academic, but it wasn't natural. I just worked really hard at school. Whereas my brothers are like genius kids.
Really?
Yeah, they're like really intelligent boys. But I always had to work that bit harder. But I was just like intense at everything. Like I was never going to be bad at school because I was so intense.
That's amazing and interesting now knowing what you know, because you were diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah, 18 months ago I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you now look back on your schooling years and you see it differently because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always knew I was like a little bit, I was like, why am I like always yelling out in class or, you know, wanting to like do the most all the time? And I never really understood it. And I think because my mum's a teacher as well.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's a principal, and she was like, well, I don't understand, like, I don't think that you were the typical, you know, person with ADHD, because usually like back then in the 90s, it was like if you were ADHD, you were like a young boy on red cordial, like screaming the roof down kind of vibes. That's what the like stereotype was.
Yeah.
Whereas I was screaming the roof down, but in a different way, like, you know, doing a Vanessa Amorosi dance that I'd choreographed the whole class to do. You know, it was always like more like hectic, but
But like hyper focused.
Yeah. Like,
but doesn't it, from what I know, I actually don't know all that much about ADHD. But I do think that it presents differently in males and females generally anyway.
I think it presents differently across the board.
Yeah.
Every individual is so different. And it's like called a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
You could be way more intense in some areas and not in others. It's just like a very, very broad. There's no kind of one shoe fits all mold.
Which is why I think it's tricky because everyone on TikTok seems to be sort of reading something and then they're like, oh my God, I have that.
Totally. And I do think it is, I think that ADHD is a lot more common than people thought it was. But I do think that it is just common things that every person has. So, for example, my business partner and I, Nikki, she is like the most opposite to me in some areas person. But then also I'll be like, oh, you know, I can't open my emails today because of this. And she'll be like, well, I can't open my emails either, so maybe I'm ADHD, for instance. That's like a really bad example, but...
No, but it's like you hear symptoms and then you start thinking, oh, maybe you could diagnose, you could make yourself fit the brief.
100%.
If you wanted to.
And I think that's the thing, like ADHD for me, I mean, everyone's different, but it is just things that everyone does. But I just do them way more often, all the time, and it stresses me out way more.
How does it present for you then?
I just am like kind of a bit of an extremist. Like I am either like really, really, you know, if I'm really into something and it's running, or if it's Pilates, then fantastic. But if it's a boy that likes to party on the weekends that I'm really hyper fixated on, then that's what I'm doing. And that's my life revolves around kind of.
It's toxic.
Yeah. So it all presents in different kind of ways and shapes and sizes. And like I'm a really good initiator. Like I can come up with an idea, get the wheels in motion for a million things, and then will I reply to any email? No. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone's different though.
So you can start things, but it's hard to sort of follow through.
Yeah. I really need especially now that we've got our fingers in a lot of different pies, I really need, and we are just about to employ our first PA, thank goodness. But I really need essentially like a right-hand person to see through all the kind of things that I initially just do. Because again, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to like follow up on things. No one wants to, but for me, it's almost like an impossible task.
It's not a lack of want. It's like that you just can't do it.
Or it's just that I'm like, my focus has already shifted on to the next thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it does make sense now that you've got so many different interests and you're doing so many different things.
Yeah. But it's exactly what that is, yeah.
But the fact that you managed to have such a successful podcast and clothing line and your app and so many things.
Thank you.
While you're managing that is really impressive, but also confusing. Like how do you do it?
Well, I'm medicated now, thank goodness gracious me. When I got diagnosed, I was medicated, which has like helped a lot. Not to say that it's been like the solution. And like a healthy lifestyle and routine really works for me. Like that's my kind of, you know, it's like nature's medicine. Like, you know, waking up, going to the gym, jumping in the ocean. I live on the Gold Coast. And then going to work is just like, that's the best, that's better than any ADHD medication I could possibly ever have.
Yeah. Nikki did say today that she's like, if you speak and it's the morning and you haven't been to the gym or you haven't done something in the morning, she's like, please go for a walk because our day will be much better if you do that. It's
crazy how much impacts me. And I find it really interesting. Like this is a bit off topic, but I watch a lot of TikTok, and in America I find a lot that they're like, I get up at 10 a.m. and I'm like, really? You're crazy. And they're like, and then I just like, you know, like go to my computer and start working. And I'm like, my mental health, if that's what I was doing every day, would be absolutely.
Oh yeah, half your day's gone.
Half your day is gone. You haven't moved your body. But like, I don't know, is that just an Australian thing? Are we just like that?
I don't know anyone that sleeps until 10. I don't think.
I think Hailey Bieber gets up at 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Really? I don't think people in Australia would admit to it. But yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. And this isn't people that have ADHD. You're talking about just
people in general.
Really?
Whereas I'm up like between 5 and 6 on like a normal day at the latest.
That's impressive.
What time do you get up?
A Queensland thing. Oh, like 7?
Yeah. So Queensland.
You're judging me.
I am.
7's early.
7's like I'm running late for work. We start work at 8.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, 7's I used to try for early, but I'm a night owl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone's got their own routine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a crazy thing. I just find like if I'm not up at a certain time, and I love exercising in the morning. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's my like happy thing.
Yeah.
I hate it at the time, but then after.
You never regret it after.
Yeah. When I walk out of that Pilates class at 6:30, I am like, fucking who? Let's go. I'm getting my coffee. I'm having my Dexy and I am ripping in today. Look at me. I'm the queen of the world.
I am the best.
I'm the best.
I know.
If I sleep until 7 and I'm like going to work, rushing to get a coffee, I'm like, I hate my life.
Yeah. No, you definitely feel like a really good person when you exercise early.
Oh, it's the best.
What was it that actually got you to the point where you were like, I need to have an assessment for ADHD, or did someone tell you to get assessed?
Well, I think so. Just before COVID, I broke up with my long-term partner. We were together for 13 years.
Was it 13? Holy
yeah, it's a long time. Or just in the middle of COVID, in that period. And that just completely changed my life not like in a necessarily like, I wasn't spiraling or like depressed or anything, but it definitely like, 13 years is such a long time to be with someone. And I think that it really shaped who I was as a person.
It's a huge adjustment. Yeah.
So then when I went through that and it was COVID, I started to spiral a little bit. Well, I just said I didn't spiral. I definitely spiraled a bit. But I started to spiral a little bit. Like I kind of was figuring out where I was meant to be placed in life. And, I was already 30, so I wasn't like super young and blah, blah, blah. You spend a long time with someone, you just think that that's going to be it, and then it's not. And then I spiraled and I could not. I was so negative. Like I just could not get out of this negative. I was fixated on being sad, essentially. And not just about that, but like about a myriad of things. Like there was a lot of my relationships around me, like friendships and stuff started to suffer because I was so, I guess, just not well. And
just stuck in your head maybe.
So, well, yeah. And I was like, I just don't understand. And then because I was so stressed and unhappy, I could not focus at work at all. And I already struggled so much to focus because I had ADHD but didn't know.
Yeah.
But like this was a whole nother level of like I couldn't even sit down to write one word of an email pretty much. Just like so bing bong. We call it bing bong, which is a really cute way of just saying like completely unhinged. But
I like that. I'm going to adopt that.
Yeah, I was just completely bing bong and I just could not, figure it out. And like I just couldn't regulate my emotions and I couldn't focus. I couldn't get anything done. And, but at the same time being like a kind of really big, not overachiever, but just like really always had a million ideas, always like talking to people and like wanting to start things and then just not having any kind of means to like see things through because I was so just like bing bong.
Bing bong.
Yeah. And so it was kind of in that period, I guess I just got to the point where I was like, something has got to give.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but I need to go and see a psychiatrist. And I went to like the GP and went and started talking to a psychologist.
Yeah.
And then they were like, I think you should go to a psychiatrist just to see if there's any actual kind of, is medical the right word? Like actual kind of like diagnosis we can give you.
So can a psychologist not diagnose ADHD?
No, you have to go to a psychiatrist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to get any kind of prescription, you have to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist. I'm sure they kind of can.
Well, they can diagnose maybe but not medicate. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so then I went to a psychiatrist and during COVID, that's when a lot of people were coming out being like, I've got ADHD. It was a huge thing on TikTok. I didn't actually look at TikTok then. I wasn't into my TikTok era. So that kind of wasn't where I was learning about it. But it was a lot more of a spoken about thing.
Yeah.
So I like checked in for a assessment and it took months.
Really?
Months and months to even get into the doctor.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it took.
But not the actual like process of getting diagnosed.
Oh gosh, no! I walked in there and my doctor was like, "Oh, you're absolutely unhinged." She didn't say that. She's a professional, but she was like, "You have ADHD.
You are bing bong."
Yeah, I know what you've got. It's this little thing I like to call bing bong. But she was like, "No, you've honestly textbook." And it's actually really funny because they have to call someone in your interview. Well, it's not an interview, but in your diagnosis or whatever assessment, and basically verify what you're saying, because obviously a lot of people try and get their hands on ADHD medication. It's very regulated. Like you've given exactly the right amount for the right amount of days, and then the second you run out, you've got like a few days window to go back to the pharmacy. Like it's very regulated, but so they have to call someone in your analysis to basically confirm or deny.
Like a close family member or friend or something.
Yeah. So my doctor had to call Nikki, who's my business partner, and basically be like, what's your relationship with Lucy? Are these things that she's like attesting to true, essentially? And she was like, yeah, and the rest. Like,
what else do you want to know?
Yeah, what do you want to know? And so, yeah, my doctor was just like, yeah. And so then I've been medicated ever since.
How did you feel getting the diagnosis?
Some people are like, oh, it was life-changing. I felt like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulder. To be honest, I was like, oh, like makes a lot of sense. I'm really grateful that now I have something to essentially, I don't want to say put it down to, but like.
But kind of.
Yeah.
An explanation.
Yeah. But I didn't have that kind of groundbreaking, like my whole world changed in that moment. I was just like, and do you know what is this?
Did you feel like sad or disappointed or like any negative feelings about it?
Nah.
That's good.
And my dad had, I think it probably runs in his family, some very complex mental health problems of sorts, like whether it be ADHD or bipolar or whatever. It's hereditary in my family. And so it made a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was weird though, because some of my brothers, I only have two, but you know, some people don't believe in ADHD. They just think it's this big like TikTok trend that young people are like using to like get out of working hard. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think it's an excuse to like not get your assignments in or whatever you're using it as, but I do think it is something that is very real.
Well, it helps you to understand yourself more. And
exactly.
Then hopefully the people around you as well.
Yeah. And just also then be able to like use those tools to better your way of handling things and things like that, rather than being so kind of, it's honestly just given me a bit of a toolbook, I guess, to be able to understand myself as a person and how to better handle situations and what I should do to make my life less erratic.
Yeah, stressful. Do you think, going back to your long-term relationship, do you think in hindsight that your ADHD had any impact on that relationship?
No. Our relationship was great. We had a great, I was always like, we were polar opposites. He was like very chill, and I was the opposite, but for lack of a better word. But no, our relationship was fine. It was just.
So what was it that led you to end that relationship? Like, I feel like being with someone for 13 years is such a long time.
Long.
And you said it was great. And you were 30? 31?
Yeah, 30. Oh, we broke up when I was 30, and then the kind of breakup prolonged over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you make that decision? Because I know, like, obviously I also ended a long term. It wasn't as long. It was nearly 5 years, but a marriage.
That's still very long. Like, it's not, like, relationships don't need to be measured by the length of time.
But yeah, like a long term relationship.
Yeah.
very much lives completely intertwined. You know, we had a house, we were married, had a dog. I'm assuming you lived together, you had, you know, your lives were very intertwined. How did you make the decision to move on from that when, you know, you were at that age?
It's a tricky one. It's been like almost 3 years now, like 2-3 years since that all went down. And I look back with a lot of hindsight. And it's interesting. I feel like growing up with a single mum and watching my mum raise 3 kids on her own, I innately developed a great fear of ending up not with someone forever. And I loved my partner very much, and he was an amazing partner. So it wasn't that I wasn't very invested in it, but there was just, for me, I was like, surely we've known each other our whole lives pretty much. Surely this just can't be it. Like haven't done all these things. Like this just can't be it. So I guess I was just always that little bit curious. I've never been like overly, I don't love attention I'm not one of those girls that thrives from a lot of male attention at all. But I just kind of, I guess I just always was like curious, and I was confused as to why I wasn't certain about us being together forever. Like I knew I loved him. I knew that I was very happy. I knew that we were in a great thing. But I was like, why aren't I 100% certain, like look at him every day and be like, I cannot wait to marry this man. Like I was like, I love him and I want to be with him forever. Like breaking up would feel awful, but I wasn't like, I want to marry him tomorrow. And I think that that's something maybe as people we're programmed to think that's how you're meant to believe or what you're meant to think.
I think it's a really hard thing to figure out like what a normal amount of doubt is. Because I had doubts. I've had doubts in every past relationship that I've had.
Yeah.
But then it's hard to figure out like what's a normal amount of doubt, and just like it's human nature to doubt some things. And I'm an anxious person and I'll like, you know, overthink things.
Totally.
So then I was like, well, is that just normal to feel that way?
Exactly. And that's, I think.
So how did you figure out that it was more than just like a normal amount of doubt?
I don't know. I think I just, you know, I was, again, I don't think I ever will, I'll never be like fully set on the fact that that was a good or a bad decision, because still to this day, I'm like, I still have nothing bad to say about that relationship. I've only got great things to say about that relationship. So I don't ever sit there and be like, well, that was the right decision. But I feel like because I was so young when it all kind of started, I think if I never did if it never ended, I would have always wondered.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the right decision. Maybe that was the wrong decision. But
it was the best decision at the time.
It was the only decision I could make.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would have been like, I would have been like, you know, married for 5 years, 2 kids. And I would have been like, did I do the right thing? Yeah. Whereas I think now I've just kind of eliminated, you know, I've just done what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Whether it was the right or wrong thing, I've done what needed to happen.
Yeah.
For me.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a rough journey, babe.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we've spoken about this many times just between us, but like being single in your 30s is so much more complicated than I think I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And that I think other people like, Lucy, I don't get it. Like, you know, you're such a catch. Like you've got so much going on. You've got a lot of friends. You know, you're so fun. You're whatever. Just like talking myself up there, but you know.
Well, I can attest to all those things. I definitely agree. I think there are so many women in this sort of situation who end up single in their 30s who are amazing, and they don't seem to be meeting the right, or you know, a guy that matches up to their level. But I think there's something to be said about the fact that when you are in your 30s and you have your own success and you've built your own life and you're independent, you don't need someone. So they have to be really, really special for you to want to actually invest your time in them.
Yeah. I think everyone is so different, right? And like I think when I was younger, I grew up in a small town where there were like 10 boys and 10 girls. So like if you're one of the 10 girls, you're hooking up with one of the 10 boys. That's happening, whatever. And, you know, fortunately for me back then, that one of the 10 boys was a great catch, dated him for 13 years.
Wow, okay.
Legend, like no bad blood there. But for me now, I meet a gazillion dudes all the time and I just don't like any of them. I don't know. I just don't. Occasionally there'll be one that I'll, you know, have like a bit of a interest in. But for the most part, I meet so many people. I'm very fortunate. Like I live in a very social atmosphere. Like I've got a lot of social people around me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just doesn't have that
spark.
I haven't for so long. I haven't liked anyone for so long.
That is interesting. So when your friends say to you, like, Lucy, I don't get it because you're a catch. What's going on? What is your response? What do you say?
I go, fuck me either, babe. To be honest, it's a bit, I'd love a root, to be honest. It's been a fucking hot minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm there being like, oh no, you know, I'm still waiting for the right one. I'm just like, yeah, fuck, it's been a while.
So you do date though, right?
Oh, I've been on dates. I wouldn't say I date per se.
Okay.
I'm also I'm a really black and white person.
Yeah.
So I either, you know, like someone or I don't. You're either like one of my people that I love or I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I need to work on that.
Not necessarily, because I also think that's something that comes with age. Is like as you know yourself more, you know what you like. I think the older I've gotten and, you know, ending my relationship, like you learn so much about yourself.
So much.
In that time, in therapy. Do you do therapy?
Listen, it's been a journey with therapy. I actually have had like 4 or 5 different ones and I just am like, this is so boring.
Really?
Like talking about my feelings, can't be fucked. I'm such a cynical person. I also like just would rather sit around with a wine with my friends and be like, oh my God, and could you believe I said this? Ha ha ha. Rather than be like, and what did that mean?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. But I mean, it helps.
I have therapy in many different ways. I think that therapy comes in so many shapes and sizes. I think for me, spending time with my friends and talking about things, you know, people like Alexis, like I'm lucky to have very kind of skilled friends in the area.
Yeah.
You know, neuroscientist bestie. It was always handy. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I just haven't found that therapy has worked for me yet.
Okay.
But I would never look back on what I've done so far and I don't regret it. Like I'm glad. But I just haven't had that kind of moment.
Yeah. That makes sense. How do you deal, this is something that I get asked about a lot, is like people see, you know, a post on social media like going to weddings, friends' baby showers. So many of my friends have now had babies or are having babies, getting married, getting engaged, all of those things that, I mean, I did one part and then thought I'd be doing the rest of it. I imagine we're a similar age. You've got the same sort of thing happening. How do you deal with being on a different path to what they're on and not comparing yourself too much or not getting too caught up in that?
I mean, it's just natural to feel the pressure when you're in those environments. But for the most part, I have just such an awesome, amazing group of girlfriends that in those environments, I am so generally thrilled to be there for my friends and with my friends.
Yeah.
It's not about not wanting to like, you know, it's not about being sad about them having that happiness per se. Thrilled for them.
Yeah.
And also, to be honest, some of my friends that have got 2 kids, I'm like, fuck, I'd way rather be me. Like, honestly, you've been to lunch twice this year. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't
just having champagne on a Wednesday.
Right? I don't feel that kind of huge level of
missing out
yet, or like your life is better than mine yet. I think maybe in 5 years' time, you probably ask me the same question. I'd probably feel a bit different.
Yeah.
And I love kids. I can't wait to be a mum. Like I'm going to be such a fun mum. I know that.
Absolutely.
But I don't yet feel that kind of crazy comparative, because like I know people getting married also is, a big deal, but they're not changed. The lifestyle doesn't change.
No.
They're still just the same people. They just have a really fun party where you get to dress up. So fun.
Yeah.
I do find though, it is harder being single. I more so think about it like I don't get jealous about my friends having the things that they have or like get comparatively envious, but I definitely do get lonely in the chapters or the Sundays when you're at home alone when you're lonely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think if I had another friend there hanging out with me, then I'd be like, oh, it's whatever.
Yeah. How do you cope with that in those like lonely moments?
I don't cope very well. No, I'm okay. I mean, no, everyone has that lonely feeling. I feel like we'd be crazy if we said we didn't.
Yeah. But what are some things that you do to sort of pull yourself out? Like for me, because I live by myself and I actually love living by myself, but it can be lonely.
Super lonely.
It can be very quiet. So I like to always have like music playing or like a podcast or like the TV on.
Oh, always the TV on.
Yeah.
I think as well for me on a Sunday, like if I'm like waking up hungover, we've had a big night with the girls on the Saturday night and I know that they're all at home with their partners, like making lunch and going swimming at the beach and having a beautiful, like gorgeous hungover day together. And I'm just at home, like probably still wearing my makeup from last night and just being a bit of a grot. I always do try and like just do the kind of adult things that make you feel less, trudge. So like, I'll clean the house. I'll, have a shower, call me crazy, go for a swim in the ocean. Burn some incense in my clean house, put a movie on, and instantly you just feel like it's way less kind of, dark and chaotic. It's just like, I'm watching a movie, but I'm choosing to watch a movie, not like, oh, I'm so sad and hungover and I'm just wallowing in my own filth watching a movie.
Yeah. Bit more wholesome.
It's a little bit more wholesome. I'll usually try and, if I'm feeling like, really good, even though I'm hungover, I'll like, instead of getting Uber Eats, I'll like zip down to the shops and get food to make dinner.
Yeah.
Even if it is just for me and my dog, I'll still do those things. Like you have to make those, the effort that you would put in if there was someone else there, you have to sometimes just put into yourself, even though it would be a lot easier to take the lazy, rotting Uber Eats option. Sometimes you need to just put that little bit of effort into yourself in order to pull yourself out of those moments. It is hard though.
That's really good advice though. I love that. I feel like you would think to do something more for someone else and make your house nice for someone else, like if someone's coming over. But yeah, you do need to do it for you. And it feels so good when you do. Even
little things like this is, a bit gross, but like, if you're there alone rotting in your own filth, like sometimes like, you just won't even have a shower. Like you'll just be a grot. Like it's a bit gross, but I think people do that. And that's like how depression like spirals, just people just sleeping in, not, looking after themselves. But sometimes just doing those really basic looking after yourself things is all you need to kind of lift your mood enough to kind of feel like, okay, it might not be much, but it's something going on.
Yeah. Well, you've ticked some boxes.
Exactly.
You mentioned earlier to me that you are going to freeze your eggs this year.
I am.
Yeah. Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. I'm pretty much an open book.
Amazing. What made you want to do that?
So I think, which we spoke about today at my event that I had, basically, life is crazy and goals, I'm a big goal maker. I'm a big achiever. Like I love achieving. I love thriving and like I love setting a goal and doing it. Even if no one else knows that I've done it. It's honestly, I just am like patting myself on the back for weeks, like slay. If I get up in the morning and go to the gym, I'm like, you are the queen. You did so well today, girl. So for me, I'm like, I do want to have a family.
Yeah.
I do want to find a partner but I do not want the pressure of stressing out about finding someone in order. Like I had an amazing relationship for many years.
Yeah.
I didn't leave that to go and just get knocked up by some fuckwit just so I can have a baby.
Yeah.
So I am not rushing that process. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, like, you've got to find someone, Lucy, you're 33. If you don't find someone, you're, you know, every week that goes by, you're less fertile or whatever. Like, and so I just was like, I need to take off some of that pressure for myself. Just purely, I don't want to just have a baby with anyone. I've got, like I told you earlier, I've got a massive fear of ending up like a single mum.
So you wouldn't consider like getting a sperm donor and doing it on your own?
Listen, in 5 years' time, if I'm in the same boat, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I would want to have kids. But like right now, I don't want to just have a baby with someone for the sake of having a baby. Like I don't know. I'm ready to just find a great life partner and have kids and a family. Like I don't want to just like meet someone, have a baby, and then they're a total fuckwit and I've got to put up with them for the next 18 years.
Yeah.
That to me just seems like fucking torture.
It is a nightmare. And I think a lot of people do that. They end up having a kid with the wrong person because they're so desperate to have a kid. And that was my fear. That was part of the reason I froze my eggs as well. I feel like it's like people say, you know, it's not complete insurance because there's not a guarantee that you're going to have a baby from it. But I do think it's like this peace of mind. It feels like this security.
Totally.
That takes the pressure off of dating as well. Like, so you don't have to go in and be like, okay, how many kids do you want? Is this happening? Like,
oh, and not that it even gets to that with me. I'm like, oh, dating. Oh, hey. How was your week? Like, it's so awkward. Nah, I've actually been on a couple of good dates. I would love to be
a fly on a wall of a first date with you.
Oh, I've had some pearlers, babe. I've had some really good ones, to be fair, but I've had some absolute pearlers, which I'm not going to tell right today.
We'll have to do another episode just for some dating stories, I reckon.
But I think it's just, you know, you can only control what you can control. And what I can control is freezing my eggs.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush into something with the wrong person if I can avoid it. It might happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
You can't foresee the future, but where I can look after myself, I will. And that's why I've decided to freeze my eggs. I just want that little bit of peace of mind.
Yeah.
Bit of pressure off. Go back to just like being less pressure about it. And
well, so you can focus on other things.
Enjoy life.
Yeah. I just don't think we need that taking up all of our brain space. You got too many things going on in there.
No. And like, I just also take the finding a partner side out of it. I don't want a kid next week either.
Yeah.
So like naturally it's hard for this world we live in now because for a lot of people your career doesn't really start taking off until you're in your 30s. And then all of a sudden you're like living this epic life where you have this great job and you're, you know, amazing opportunities, making money, like having a great time. You might have bought a house and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you've just got to go and birth a small human and say goodbye to the sweet life just as you get it. It's a bit of a tough gig, really.
It's a bit of bullshit.
I'm like, hang on.
Yeah, you're not ready to give that up yet.
I just had a beautiful lunch at Beverly Rooftop. I'm not going home to look after my kid right now.
No, thank you.
Maybe in 5 years, but not right now.
It's fair enough. Now, Lucy, you have had so much success, which is amazing, and I just love seeing you killing it.
Thank you.
I feel like it is just going up.
Feelings
and up.
mutual, doll.
Thanks,
I'm happy
doll.
for you always.
Oh, you're the best. What would you, like, I don't imagine that you saw yourself doing this. I feel like everything sort of progressed really naturally to get to where you are now.
So gradually.
Yeah, but like it just all sort of makes sense, I feel. Like everything sort of happened as it's supposed to.
I feel like we've been very lucky. I like obviously share like a lot of my career with my bestie Nick, and we have got a very similar kind of story. But we've been so lucky. We've had like such an amazing gradual, you know, progression to where we are now. We didn't like wake up one morning with a viral TikTok that then just made us earn $1 gazillion overnight. We've been the young career girlies before Instagram was even, you know, a thing. Then we've done the, you know, we had 20,000 followers and we pitched ourselves out. We made like documents and pitched ourselves out and being like, we will do this for your brand. Like, then we've like transitioned into the like, startup girls, you know, starting their own business. And then we've transitioned into like podcast girls. And we've been I just love that it has just been this really gradual thing because we've enjoyed every minute of it.
That's so good.
And I feel like that's where, I mean, everyone's different, but I feel like that's what life's all about. It's about enjoying it. It's not about, like, that's that corny cliche thing. It's like life isn't about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
And we've had the most unreal progression over the years and enjoyed every minute and thought at every minute that it was the best time. Like we were like, you know, I was
so good.
In Melbourne when I was like 24. I was working for a fashion brand back then called Mink Pink. Do you remember Mink Pink?
Yeah, I loved Mink Pink.
It was like the slay brand.
It was like the go-to festival outfit.
Yeah.
And
I was like so young and I was working crazy hours. I was like living in Sydney, but they were like, I was living in Melbourne temporarily in an Airbnb, you know, earning, I reckon I was earning like 40 grand a year. Like I could barely afford my morning coffee and any kind of like lifestyle. And I remember the first time I went to Rebs and I bought like an $18 vodka Red Bull or something. Yeah. And I was like, fuck yeah.
I have made it.
This is unreal. And we were with this guy who is still a friend of ours today. Like that's how much, like, you know, the people you meet in your early years are still, we worked with him at Red Bull then and now he's like.
Wait, cheers.
And now he's like, was our, you know, part of like our tour thing for Grapevine. Like it's all full circle. But I remember he got us a free drink and I was like, slay. A free drink. This is unreal. I got into this nightclub in the back door, mind you, didn't have to line up. And I was like, fuck yeah. We've snuck into more things than you want to know. You know.
It's paid off though.
Nikki's strategy is like, she's like the charmer. So she like goes in with I think we're on the list, whereas I'm like climbing the back fence. Like it's two very different kind of like approaches.
That's a good visual.
Yeah, but it's honestly the best ever. And I'm so glad because like not to like put shade on young TikTokers or whatever, but like, you know, there's a lot of people in the industry and they like are so young and they've like woken up one day to a huge amount of success. And that's not to say that that's going to be the like end of their career, but like I just don't think they have the same amount of like enjoyment for things.
There's that, I think it's like a lack of gratitude and a lack of appreciation because it happens overnight, and then I think you can just start taking things for granted if it does happen too quickly.
And take it for granted, and also just like half of them won't even have a bloody shardy when you're at the venue. I'm like, lap this up. My grandma would kill to be at the Oz Open.
Lap it up.
And they're like, can't wait to leave on the dot at the time. And I was like, can't relate.
Yeah.
You're kicking me out of this box. I ain't fucking leaving. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but also we're just big havers of fun.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, everyone is so different. And I think but I am so glad that we've had the journey that we've had because it just means every day is better and funner. That's and so just another reason to just be so grateful.
So good. On that, if you could go back to Lucy pre everything that you've done when you were a Red Bull girl. Yeah. What would your advice be?
Oh, well, Red Bull girl Lucy, 21-year-old Lucy, she was a fucking go-getter then. So I'd firstly say tips fedora to you, Luce. You're fucking killing it.
Love that.
I was a hustler. Even when I was like 19, I had like 4 jobs. I was promoting events. I was a Red Bull girl. I was podium dancing. Don't ask.
I really want bank. To ask.
I was just doing it all. But I would say to her, just keep going. If you've got an idea of what you want your life to be and you're willing to have a fucking sick time and work hard, you will just forever be bearing the fruits of your labor because it's not about the job or the money or whatever. It's about just having the greatest time while you do it.
I love that.
It's the best ever.
You have such good advice, which is why we love the Basic Girls Guide.
We love it.
So many great quotes, all the good stuff.
It's the best.
I want to finish with a little segment called Oranges and Lemons.
Okay.
You're going to give me your lemon first. Lemon is something that's happened today that wasn't so great.
Yep, I can tell you one.
And then your orange is something, it was your favourite part of the day so far.
All right, so lemon today, we were so hungover when we woke up this morning and we had to go and get our hair and makeup done at 6 a.m.
Oof.
And I was like, yep, all right, come in, just get it done. We went and we got it done. We were like feeling great, love our like Melbourne glam squad, best ever. We're like, wow, oh my God.
We look good.
We got a bit of time up our sleeve. Should we wait for our toasties to get here on Uber Eats? Just like absolutely thinking that we're really bad at time management. And we're like, fuck yeah, let's just wait for our toasties. All right. Waited for our toasties. The toasties arrive. Jump in the Uber. The traffic in Melbourne is insane.
Particularly when it's raining, it's very bad.
So bad. I'm going to be running late for my own event. I'm getting my phone's blowing up. You know, everyone's like, hey, we're on our way. What time should we be there? I'm not even back at my hotel. I'm getting my Uber now. I'm on my way. I'm not even dressed. I'm not even at my hotel to get dressed. Nick was like, I feel sick because our Uber was stopping and starting the whole time because it was like really bad traffic. And Nick's like, I feel sick. I was like, fuck, this is one of those moments.
This is a lemon.
This is a major lemon. I got dressed. This is actually kind of funny. I got dressed and then was like to the people in my elevator, I'm so chaotic. I was like, oh, I'm running late. They're like, oh my gosh, get the lady out of the elevator. She's running late. They open the elevator doors and I just run out in a frantic chaos, do a loop. I'm on the wrong level. I'm not even on the Then I get a message from a punter going, did I just see you frantically running and yelling through the Metropole Crown? I go, you did, my guy. So that was a lemon. I was like, I'm going to be late. And I've like learned a lot in my life. I'm never early, but in my 30s, I try not to be too late to things. I just think there's something nice about being like as punctual as you can be, like at least within like a 10-minute window, you know? So that was my lemon. But then my oranges was arriving in the nick of time. And just being at the event today with like so many epic chicks who was just killing it, but also my friends. I just felt so proud.
Yeah, it was such a nice event.
It was nice.
Definitely a real orange for me as well.
And coming here, of course, and hang out with you.
You don't have to say that.
No, I mean it.
I appreciate that. It's been such a good day for the girls.
I know.
I feel like there's a lot of talk online about like women supporting women, but you don't always see it actually happening. So when you're seeing it playing out, it's so nice. And
I just think, yeah, like I said earlier today, I just think there's so much room for everyone. And I think, you know, I can be a feisty, bitter bitch, like 100%. But I just think there's so much room for everyone, and it's so nice to be in an environment and in a community or whatever you want to call it, where we're all just so kind. Everyone supports each other. Everyone's different. Everyone's on their own journey, but there's no kind of
it's not competitive.
Well, personally, I don't feel cut down or competitive with anyone.
Yeah. But I also think it speaks to you and how you are and that you're secure in yourself. Like I think it's a credit to you that you feel that way as well.
And you too.
Thanks, doll.
We'll be supporting each other. We'll be out here supporting. Babe, I want to say this. Here, speaking of support, your podcast with us was one of our highest downloads ever.
Really?
And we never have high downloads on guest ones because people just want to hear us getting cooked. But
it's divorce, babes.
Yeah.
People want to hear about that.
People want to hear about the tea.
But I appreciate that. But I do think it's nosiness more than anything. But thank you.
Well, keep them on their toes, babe.
Keep them nosy.
Keep them nosy. They'll keep downloading.
All right, Luce, where can our listeners find you?
Just give me a follow on Instagram, Lucy Kate Jackson. Mine and Nikki's Instagram is, I think it's like Lucy _ and Nikki or something like that. Our podcast is Happy Hour with Lucy and Nikki. Our brand is Jagger and Stone. a basic girl's guide is a basic girl's guide. We've got a diary on the table here.
Basic Girls Guide. Download the app.
Download the app. You'll get your shit sorted.
It syncs your Google Calendar, right?
It syncs with your Google Cal. Gives you a period tracker, daily affirmations, your horoscope.
Everything you need.
All the things for the ladies and the boys.
And the boys.
For everyone.
But mainly the girls. Cheers.
Well, cheers, darling. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. It was
Love
so
ya.
fun. Love ya. Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.